All right, guys. We are very lucky to have Mr. Lee here with us.
Hey guys.
Lee, I'm sorry.
Hey folks.
Hey. So Lee and I participated in a series of events with Entre Institute. I've mentioned these events in previous live streams. And Lee has been gracious enough to give us some time today to really talk about his experiences with it. So first and foremost, Lee, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. It'll be good for my audience to be able to hear it come from somebody else, what their experience at Insight was like. But before we really get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
All right. Well, I'm 58 years old. I've been a restaurant chef. I'm a restaurant guy. Up until I guess a year ago now, I was running a string of 18 restaurants across the states of North Dakota and South Dakota, and now I'm completely successfully self-employed, and it's pretty cool. I have four kids and a wife, and it's a wonderful life. I'm not a millionaire yet, not at all, but we're gonna get there. And
not yet, right?
Not yet. Not yet is the key word there. Not yet. But that's me in a nutshell. Yeah.
So what brought you to Entre in general?
Well, probably back up 2 years ago. My string of restaurants was a string of franchise restaurants, and one of my owners that's very close to me whispered in my ear that they were selling. That COVID was rough on them, and they said, and he kind of whispered in my ear. He said, "You better get ready. As soon as COVID's done, we're selling this thing." And I said, "Oh, whew, okay." So I knew that I was not going to want to play with the new owners after so long with these owners, and I said, "Well, I'm gonna do something completely different." I've been working. I was an electronics engineer for 20 years. Now I've been a chef for 20 years. It's time to do something different. So, and I had been, you know how you watch different stuff on the internet all the time, and I knew there was money to be made on the internet. I knew there was. I mean, besides just taking your clothes off, I thought maybe I could do that. Because I knew I could probably only make about $1.50 doing that. So one day I stumbled upon Jeff Lerner, and he just resigned. He made a lot of sense to me, and so I signed up. It was probably almost a year, 8 or 9 months before I ever went to Insight, and I started taking the courses to be an affiliate marketer. And they didn't even have at that time. They didn't even have Insight. It was really at the very beginning of Entre. Really, probably Entre had only been around for maybe 6 or 8 months at that point, and so I started learning affiliate marketing, and that was the gateway, really, and then then summer of 2021, they started filling out classes of Insight, and I went to the very first Insight that was available to the general public. It was in August of 2021.
So you're down this path of kind of redefining what a career is for you in your life, and like you're going through the courses and all this kind of stuff, and then this Insight thing just sort of pops up. Like, what was the impetus from sort of not really holding on pause, but adding Insight to the overall experience that you already had with Entre?
That's a good question. So I'm an ex-military guy. I was like, a lot of what they said made sense. You're an entrepreneur. You probably need some backup. You probably need to learn a few lessons on how to control and manage yourself if you're going to be an entrepreneur. There's nobody behind you if you're an entrepreneur saying you better get this done today. You've got to kick yourself in your own ass, basically. And so it kind of made a lot of sense to me to go, and I've been to NCO leadership academies. I've been to all these leadership schools. I was like, I can go to a 3-day leadership school, no problem. That's, I've got this one flattened out, no problem. So, they didn't say I was going to be, weeping like a child before the end of it, but but in a good way. Right. Yeah. So that's what got me. That was the impetus that got me there. And I've just loved every facet of everything that I've learned or accepted from Entre so far. I mean, they've just been a great company so far for me.
And having gone through, or at least experienced some of these other kinds of development courses in the past, without giving too much away, obviously,
right?
But how is this different? How is Insight different than some of those other courses?
Well, and having done a couple of these interviews now, people have given me such great input that I'm going to reuse it.
You're right.
Yeah, one of the gentlemen I interviewed a couple of days ago, he says it's like Insight is kind of like they gave you a film reel of your life. It's introspective, and it allows you then, after you have this film reel that you didn't know existed, and some of that film you didn't even know existed because you've probably blocked it out. Now you can go in there and edit these clips that are actually controlling your adult self, that this child made up these beliefs in your head because of this film that this child watched when they were 6 or 7 years old, and said, I related in one person, what is a self-limiting belief? Well, I have a self-limiting belief that rattlesnakes are bad. What does that make me do as an adult? Well, I avoid rattlesnakes. That's a good limiting belief, but I mean, if you have a limiting belief that because mom and dad were poor and rich people were sucked to them, as an adult, what is that making you feel about money? Money's bad and rich people suck. And are you avoiding money and rich people because is that a good thing for you to be doing as an adult? Because that's what you learned as a child. Well, this makes you go back and go, is that serving me anymore? And maybe you can edit that piece of film and get that out of your head, and maybe say, money wouldn't suck so bad. Maybe I could use some of that money, and what could you do with that money? Maybe you can do a lot of good with that money. You don't have to be that horrible rich person, or whatever you think horrible rich people are. You can be a great rich person and affect all kinds of wonderful change in the world. So
money's not good or bad. It's what you do with it. I mean,
exactly.
That's really what it boils down to.
Exactly. I just meet, the reason I say is I meet so many people that tell me that money's bad. I was just like, no, it's not. I mean, what could you do with $1 million for the good? You could feed a bazillion people if that's what you want to do.
Right.
If that's, you don't have to, you can do wonderful things with money is what I have to do.
And with our group, we talk a lot about being dads and being, just in love with music and creating connections with people. Think about what you could do with all of the freedom of time that money would allow for. All Absolutely. The things that you could do to help kids find their voice in music by being able to either spend the time with them or by getting that instrument for them or by getting them into classes. I mean, those are good applications of money, but you've got to have it first.
Exactly. I'll give you a great example of what happened 3 days after I left Insight. I had just left my job. 3 days after I left my initial Insight class, I just left my job before I went to Insight. Permanently, I left my job. And call it woo-woo, call it whatever you want. I woke up in the morning. It was the day after Hurricane Ida hit, if you remember that, in New Orleans. I woke up and I just knew I had to go to Hurricane Ida and help. I called my wife. She was at work, and I'm a chef by trade. And I said, I got to go to Hurricane Ida. I have to go to New Orleans and help. And I've never done anything like that in my life before. And she goes, okay. What are you going to do down there? And I started researching online. There was no government entities helping down there. And I ended up with this entity called Mercy Chefs. And it's a group of chefs from all over the world that get together and they cook actual cooked meals for people. And they're all over the world now. I mean, they're helping in Florida right now, big time. They're still helping in Ukraine. But I went down there. My brother's as a chef also. We went down there together. And I think in those 5 days we were down there, we helped responsibly cook, I think 350,000 meals, and stuff. And it was just, just what you can do and what I could do. If I would have had a big pile of money, I would have left it there with them.
Right.
It's just what you can do with money if you really wanted to.
So let me ask you this question then. Would you have, before Insight and before the epiphany that you had to go to Hurricane Ida, would that have been motivation? Like, would you have done it had you not had the experience that you had with Insight?
Probably not. Probably not. Would I have thought about it? Maybe. Would I have actually got off, go, and went? No, probably not.
It's a profound motivator. Like, yeah. It's the willingness to get called to action is.
I put it, and I just quit my job. Mm-hmm. She goes, "How are you going to go down there and do that?" Right. You know what? I'm going to put it on the internet. I'm going to put it on Facebook and see if anybody pay my way down there. I put a simple message on there saying I'm going down to feed people, and I got unbelievable amounts of money, which I did leave down there, but it was amazing. All I did was ask, "Anybody want to help me?" Piles of money.
That's the amazing thing. Like for somebody like myself who's lived a predominantly quarantined myself off from the world for the most part, and having gone through that Insight experience, it's connecting with people is so much more fun. And the fact that and clearly in your case, in this specific instance, people want to connect, people want to help, people want to help you succeed in what you're wanting to do with your life, especially if it's in such a positive manner as you're describing, having gone down to help those in Louisiana.
It was. Someday I can even tell you some more stories, but it was an awesome experience. Let's just leave it at that. But
well, then let me ask you this question: for someone that might be on the fence, might not really understand what this kind of experience is or what it could do for them, for anyone that could, like, how would you describe somebody that would be of potentially benefiting from going to Insight?
I would say two things. Go. First off, go, but only if you're courageous enough to change your life, because you're going to change your life if you go. There's no possibility that you walk in those doors and spend 3 days there and not change your life. And you're going to face demons, and you're going to face joyful things, but you're also going to face some demons. And it takes courage to do that. And if you're not ready to do that, then don't go. If you're ready to just settle for a mediocre life and you don't want to give more to your family and your loved ones, and you want to just keep mediocre life for the rest of your life, then don't go. But if you are ready to excel and give more to your loved ones and all the people around you, and more than anything else, to yourself for one time in your life, go. I am a perfect example of never thought of myself once in my whole life. And I think of myself now for a change, which is wonderful. And because I think of myself, everybody else around me gets more of me. And I don't know how to explain that, but it's just really true. It's really
I couldn't agree more. Like that has been the experience that I've had, wherein, at one point, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, just isn't, like, for manly men, it's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to put your walls up. You're supposed to.
How about those twins?
Right, no, but it's so much more rewarding and so much more fulfilling, and seeing the change in other people when you come around, like it's amazing. Like, and I'm just only going to bring it up once, and I brought it up a little bit more, is going back and auditing these classes or volunteering at these classes, which I know you haven't done yet, which I helped at your influence class, right. Which I know there's nothing like. It's like watching the movie Rudy 1,000 times. It's watching people explode out of their shells. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. I have every intent of going back and auditing and staffing. I've experienced a lot of different sort of mental health strategies, if you will, in the past. And nothing has helped me as profoundly as this has had, or this has rather. And this is something that I want to give back to. I don't know when I can, but it's going to happen. And then it's just a matter of spreading the word. This work is some of the most incredible, rewarding work that you can participate in, and the impact that it has and can have on the world around you, you can't even put into words.
No.
I mean,
I think honestly, I'm a firm believer that everybody in the world should go to Insight.
We're going to get them there. We're going to get them there.
Yeah. But
well, Lee, I really appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much for coming on here and speaking with me today. I really appreciate it. If there's anything that I can do for you in the future, please let me know. But again, thank you for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you.